Politics doesn't just happen at the state house. It happens in classrooms, on school buses, in city council chambers, and in the small towns that don't always get a microphone. Tonight's conversation is about what it looks like when public service isn't theoretical, it's personal. When policy isn't abstract, it's something you live every day. And before we go any further, there's an elephant in the room, pun fully intended. This is the first Republican candidate I've interviewed on the show. So let me say this clearly. This conversation isn't about party labels. It's about whether the people asking for your vote understand the lives they want to represent and whether they're willing to show up and answer the tough questions. Welcome back to Hold 'em Accountable. I'm Derek Holt. Today, we're sitting down with Tom Arthur, a Republican candidate for Indiana House District 46, which includes communities like Ellettsville, Whitehall, Freedom, Patricksburg, Youngstown, Gosport, Spencer, and Clay City. I want to start by thanking Tom for being willing to step into this space and for trusting that I would, in fact, play nice. I don't take that lightly. Accountability works best when conversations cross party lines, and I appreciate him having the faith to show up and engage. Tom Arthur's career spans classrooms, city government, and community leadership. He began as a math teacher working in both rural and urban schools, which shaped his belief that all students deserve strong instruction and real opportunities, no matter their zip code. He later served as mayor of Brazil, Indiana, focusing on practical solutions, fiscal responsibility, and collaboration at the local level. For the past 7 years, Tom has served as a school administrator, and he's currently in his third year as principal of Owen Valley Middle School in Spencer. He stays closely connected to day-to-day school life as well, holding a commercial driver's license and regularly driving a school bus for his district. Outside of education, Tom serves on the Owen County YMCA board, the Corey Community Church Board, and the Legislative Committee of the Indiana Association of School Principals. Now he's seeking to continue his public service as a candidate for the Indiana House of Representatives in 2026. This interview isn't about gotchas. It's about priorities, accountability, and how state-level decisions ripple through real communities. So let's get into it. Tom, thank you for joining.
Derek, thank you for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
House District 46 stretches from Ellettsville and Gosport to Spencer to Clay City and small towns like Freedom, Patricksburg. What do you see as the single biggest shared challenge across these communities? And how would you prioritize addressing it in your first term?
You know, it's hard to nail it down to just one single priority. I would say my number one priority that has really has me concerned over the past year is the elimination of the childcare vouchers, or the severe reduction in childcare vouchers, and just affordable healthcare in general. Unfortunately, in Owen County, I know that the Owen County or YMCA, due to some financial constraints, had to close their daycare center. Tiny Town has recently closed, leaving the community really strained. And I know that Owen County is not immune to that. My concern is the fact that we've increased school vouchers in the tune of $500 million over the course of the last year. At the same time, we have families who are single moms working and trying to go to school and fund childcare at the same time, when childcare vouchers have gone from 30,000 issued by the state down to 15,000 issued by the state, and in turn also cut what's allowed from $150 or $300 to $150. The other concern that I have is road funding. You can travel down I-70 in the slow lane and know that there's a sign when you get to Terre Haute, and it lasts until you get to Plainfield, that trucks should be in the left lane, because the right lane is just deplorable from the foundation that's falling underneath it. So I think our funding, and funding for roads goes beyond just maintenance and resurfacing, but it also goes to even the most recent snow that we've had, and making sure that the roads are cleared. And I think the third one, and I think this is a very challenging one, I think the state legislator is making an attempt at a much bigger issue. And when I say attempt, I think it's a $1,000 issue, and we've thrown pennies at it. But I believe it's a market issue, and I think the cost of housing that has increased across the state, I think, is a big concern, um, for the district, and making sure that homes are affordable and families have a place to call home.
Many towns in District 46 struggle with declining population and limited job growth. What specific policies would you support to attract good paying jobs to rural communities like Clay City and Patricksburg without sacrificing local character?
District 46 is very fortunate to have industries like Bybee Stone in Ellettsville, Cook in Ellettsville, as well as in Spencer, Boston Scientific, and the variety of industry on the south side of Terre Haute. I think we have to invest in our small businesses, though, just like in Owen County and in Spencer, where they've revitalized their downtown and have brought a lot of those smaller businesses back to the downtown square. So I think investing in our small businesses is very crucial. District 46 is in a prime spot with its I-70 corridor, US 40, and even on the west side of Bloomington with I-69. I mean, we can be in towns like or cities like Chicago, Indianapolis, St. Louis, and Evansville within a matter of just a few hours. When I was mayor, I saw a statistic that Indiana is within a 1 day's drive of 60% of the nation's population. And I don't know that we're utilizing it, but at the same side of that, District 46 is very proud of its agriculture, especially in southern Clay County and in portions of Owen County. And so I'd hate to just give that up to put up a big industry. So I think we have to make sure that we balance the agriculture needs of the district as well as the economic growth that we have available to us.
Residents across Owen, Greene, and Clay counties frequently cite road quality, bridges, and broadband access as major concerns. What concrete investments would you push for at State House to improve infrastructure in places often overlooked?
With the snow, my school district has just been discussing the possibility of moving to a synchronous e-learning day, and so we've been assessing what our what Owen County has in means of internet. And I still think that we have means of to go and things that we can do. But looking at data and looking at statistics from 2020 versus 2026 on the connectivity, there's been a vast improvement already in connectivity. Just in Clay City, I know I now have fiber optics that come through my front yard versus a satellite that had to be hooked to the side of my house that connected to the water tower. So I think looking at District 46 and the way that it's made up, I think we have to assess what is going to be the most efficient and the most economical means. My daughter recently moved to Carmel, and she has, a Verizon. It's Verizon home internet that runs off the cell service. Is it more economical for us to put up, and invest in cellular towers, and then invest in these, or is it more economical for us to actually run a wire to every single house? I think those are things that we have to answer the question to, and then put our money where it's going to make the most economical sense for our communities. As far as roads, Indiana loves taxes despite what the Republicans want to say, and they continue cutting it. The problem is the Indiana Republicans don't want to pay for those taxes. They are perfectly okay making somebody else pay those taxes. For example, why we've seen an increase in casinos across the state, why they are currently discussing um, having the I-70 interstate turned into a toll road that would put anybody who uses that interstate, whether it's for work or travel. I mean, I travel to go visit my daughter frequently on I-70, and so now all of a sudden I heard a statistic that just turning it into a toll road would solve our problems for the next 20 years on road um, on road funding. I disagree with that. They throw out these numbers and then find out, oh, it saved us for 5 years, and now we're reliant on those things. So I think increasing the gas tax every year. I think the sales tax. I think we have to fundamentally look at how we're funding our roads and reassess it. Um, Cars are more efficient than they were 30, 40, 50 years ago. And so how we're funding our roads, I think, has to be done. But I do know that it's something that has to be looked at the state level as well as at the local level. In Clay County, when I met with representative, a friend of mine who works at the highway department, they're able to pave 6 roads out of 600 every year. That's every 100 years we're going to be recycling through paving the roads. That's not sustainable. In Owen County, one of the commissioners said they're operating on about 50% of the workforce to maintain their roads. Those are not sustainable numbers.
District 46 includes small school districts that face consolidation pressures and funding challenges. Do you support Indiana's current education funding formula? And what changes, if any, would you advocate for to protect rural schools?
I think under Governor Holcomb, we were on the right track. Um, Governor Daniels had made some significant cuts when he was in office due to some financial downturn. I don't think our schools have been fully funded back to that level. We've been barely keeping up with inflation without recovering those lost funds back from the late 2000s. I think eh, Governor Braun, the problem that I have is when we remove income levels on our choice scholarships and increase that funding by $500 million, at the same time giving schools a 2% increase. And my opponent is very frequent to say that we have funded schools. And I understand that it's over 50% of the state budget, but at the same time, under Governor Holcomb, who was trying to move us in the correct direction, went through and removed, for example, moved or not property taxes, textbook rental fees, and provided schools with additional funding to provide or to pay for those curricular materials. Under Governor Braun, they are still providing those curricular materials, so we are not in the need of um, trying to fund textbooks. However, now it's all built into that tuition bill. So the 2% increase was not really a 2% increase when you take into account that our schools have lost funding from the curricular materials, and it was built into that 2% increase on each year of the biennial budget. In addition to, with the current property tax bill, the schools are set to lose, and local governments are set to lose $1.8 billion over the course of the next several years. We can't, the budget formula is very simple. Like the state budget is very complicated, but the budget formula is simple. It's revenues minus expenses equals your surplus or deficit. And I said, we cannot continue um, cutting our schools and our local governments and not replacing those dollars and those means. And so I think the state doesn't like to push that responsibility, so they continue pushing that responsibility down to the local levels. I met with Farm Bureau. They talked about property taxes, and one of the things that they mentioned was they'd like to move away from property taxes and move to a more income school based property tax. And I'm the type of candidate that I'm like, okay, let's have a conversation about this. What does that look like? States like Tennessee and Florida have not had income taxes in several years. They also have a lot more tourism. They have a higher sales tax. Their property taxes are a lot different. So taxation shouldn't be a bad word. We should be using it efficiently and with great steward. As far as our schools and what they're doing, I think some things that we could be doing to help our schools that could avoid with consolidation, because under the current graduation rates, for example, with our high schools, I met with the principal at Clay City High School, and one of the struggles he's having is meeting some of the enrollment expectations for the Ivy Tech 30, which gets kids 30 credit hours, which is an absolutely phenomenal program. We were able to do that at Duggar. At Owen Valley Middle School, we have added high school classes at the middle school level that provides classes and it's not a means of I'm going to graduate from high school early. It's a means that I can go get either industry certification, which could include, welding, construction trades, auto mechanics, whatever a student's interested in, but also a means to go get dual credit. It opens up their schedule to go take dual credit. So they could be earning high school credit along with college credit that saves them money in the end. And so what I would like to see is right now, the universities have put kind of a crimp on who could teach those dual credit classes. Under Governor Daniels, he removed the advanced degree salary increase for teachers. And so teachers there's no return on my investment for getting an advanced degree. So why would I do it if I'm going to earn the same amount of money with a bachelor's degree as I am a master's degree? So teachers didn't get their advanced degrees in math or language arts or science. And so what I'd like to do is to kind of offset that is use teachers' experience with that. If we're teaching the Indiana academic standards, simultaneously teaching the college curriculum, why can't our more advanced teachers who've been teaching for years teach those classes simultaneously? Sure, I would think that they would need some professional development from those universities in order to do that. And I think that would open up and help make it a lot easier for our university or our schools to be able to meet those expectations and those requirements without breaking the budget.
Rising property taxes and utility costs are hitting homeowners in Ellettsville, Gosport, and Spencer. What reforms would you support to ease cost of living pressures while still ensuring local governments remain solvent?
I think the state's been tinkering with property taxes for a long time, from the property tax caps of the late 2000s to the most recent legislation. I think it's a time that we have to wait and see. We know this is going to have an impact on our funding for our local governments. Um, but I think property taxes, my frustration as a former local official is that um, not every county has a problem with property taxes. I had the opportunity to work with a fundraiser for Boys and Girls Club in Owen County in November and met a realtor. And she was joking. She said that she filled out her documents um, um, for her underwriter. And one of the things she said, the underwriter came back to her and said, I don't think your numbers are right for Clay County. She had sold a house in Clay County. And she said, no, those are right. Clay County just has really low taxes. And so I think I think we're almost to the point where we have to look county by county. Like, why are some of our counties so high in property taxes and what can we do with those? So I think you know, um, not to quote President Obama when he talked about looking at the federal budget, but I think we have to take a scalpel at our property tax problem and look at it county by county, not at a whole. As far as with our utility cost, I think there's a variety of things that we can attempt. Number one, I think we have to do investments in efficiency. When we bought this house, I inherited a pool, and the pool is very expensive. It's not by choice, I have it, but we put a new pump in, when it went out, and I bought a more efficient pump. Our electric bill was $400 a month. Now I operate with a heat pump, with a pool pump, and, even in the summer when it's hot, my bill is, 40% less than what it was. So I think investing in more energy efficient equipment is key. I think we have to look at clean energy. I've met with solar people. I've always questioned how solar works in Indiana, especially in, days like when we're snow covered. Um, but I think in the summer that it's possible. The problem is there's a solar farm just on the east side of Ellettsville that I remember as a kid driving by there and being a cornfield. And now there's no corn that's raised there. It's a solar field. And I'm not opposed to that. But I look at things like there's some old coal property in southern Vigo County and northern Sullivan County that it's really difficult to build on it now once they've mined that property, because you have to, when you build a house on it, it has to be reinforced, which costs tens of thousands of dollars. Is this property that's available that, we can potentially put our solar farms on that property, since it's not really conducive for billing, and especially for industry billing? I think it would be extremely expensive. Rooftops. I don't know why we can't look at rooftops. And I've learned to love Phoenix, Arizona. It's more for the weather than it is. But I love the area, and being in the Southwest like that, I think there's more. You see solar panels all over the place. And one thing that I noticed, we were there in October, and we parked the car at one of the malls, and somebody said, "You found the one spot that had shade. That's like a very high commodity in Arizona." But another thing that I noticed, that their parking lots are covered with solar panels. Park the car underneath it, so it provides sun protection, provides winter protection. I just parked my car. I was in Arizona the weekend, and I parked my car at the parking garage over by the airport. And why can't we put? Why can't that be a solar panel? And I think that having the state and having our utility companies invest in that. I did some research on this because utilities is not my expertise on that, but looking at a performance based regulations instead of capital investments, which kind of rewards efficiency, reliability, and some cost control, increasing transparency on our cost, and then having a strong oversight with the IURC, which I think Governor Braun has moved in that direction. And then I sold appliances when I was in college, and one of the things that they talked about We always talk about the delay on the dishwasher. Some states actually, when you're not running appliances in peak hours, actually your utility costs are a lot cheaper. So I know my washing machine now, my dishwasher now has a delay on it. So when I'm asleep, it'll do its thing and run its magic. So is are there some potential cost savings there when we're not using appliances or things in their um, peak hours?
Glad you talked about the solar panels with parking garages. I have been saying that for years. Like, those are prime spots to put solar panels.
Especially when you see the brackets that they hang them on, like,
Yeah,
why can't we just make them just tilt them or a little bit just to park cars underneath them and just yeah,
exactly. And I mean, we have so many just open parking lots in this country, not just Indiana, but in the country.
in the country, right?
And those are, perfect spots for solar panels. I'm a proponent of one size does not fit all. One solution does not fit all. Like you were saying, during the winter when solar panels could be completely covered in snow, that's why there's windmills. But I see that more as a personal issue, especially like where I live on farmland. But what are your thoughts about us not being able to get a rebate for additional energy that we generate off our own personal solar or wind turbines?
I think because I have looked at solar panels for my personal house. When I initially looked at the investment, I couldn't see the payoff, which is why we personally did not move forward with that. Um, I think it's a I kinda like the approach, like, "Hey, let's throw everything we can at this, to help energy costs." So if it's a matter of, "Hey, I can put energy costs, but I'm producing more electricity than I'm actually using." I'm a supporter of if we can safely put electricity back into the grid. We have a smart meter. Duke Energy has smart meters on the side of my house right now, and I know they're capable of measuring that kind of information. And so I'm a supporter of absolutely if people are generating power to give a rebate and then Duke Energy turns around and resells that.
Many residents must travel long distances for specialized or even basic health care. What role should the state play in expanding rural healthcare access, including mental health and addiction services in District 46?
I think mental health and addiction services are probably our two areas that we need the most support. And those are areas that we have desperate needs, especially being in the schools. Those are two areas that I can see. Um, Primary care, I think we've got to encourage doctors to go into primary care. I don't know that it's. I know Spencer has a clinic. I don't know. Clay City actually has a clinic that Union Hospital has invested in. Um, so I think we have means that we have the infrastructure that's there. I remember growing up as a kid; it was nothing for us to go to the doctor in Bloomington. I think with being within just that 30-minute drive, Brazil has a hospital and funding those, but. Um, uh, I think if we take a very similar approach that we've taken with some programs like the Hoosier Educators, which is a what I love about this program. My daughter was a recipient of this. It's a 10,000 per year dollar grant. No, yes, that will pay for tuition for teachers in Indiana. There's a caveat with it though, because we if the state's going to make this investment, we want a return on that investment, right? And so it's the way that it's written is, and we remember writing our promissory note that said, okay, you're going to go to school for education, and when you finish your degree, then you have to remain in Indiana for at least 5 years. Studies have shown if they make it 5 years, they're going to make it. Those are the five toughest years for a teacher. If they make it past 5 years, there's a good chance that they're going to be in the classroom a little longer. I think we could take the same approach with our healthcare industry, whether it's nurses, mental health, doctors, to provide those, and then you work in the state of Indiana for a unspecified amount of time, whether that's 5 years or however long whatever we decide. And so, and then we're partnering with education and community partnerships. I think prevention is a key to serving our prevention is a key. And then I also think maybe we should look at more technology. I kind of like to look people face in the face, but in what cases is telehealth, a possibility, and is it a reality that can actually help families that maybe have transportation issues, but and help deter some of those costs.
From limestone operation near Ellettsville to agriculture and waterways across the district, how would you balance economic activity with protecting land, water, and public health for future generations?
First of all, I don't think we have to choose between a strong economy and a healthy land, water, or public health. I think we can do them together and be successful. My wife used to tease and joke that I have to be the most tree hugging conservative that she knows when it comes to the environment. We were recycling before it was cool to recycle, but I think we have to redefine what economic success looks like. It doesn't necessarily look like the checkbook, the size of your checkbook. What is your community partner, and what are you doing to your community? Um, Growth by damaging our natural resources, our air, our public health is not growth, because all that does is it just kicks the can down the road, and that problem has to be fixed one way or another. Um, I think we have to look at and build an economy around stewardship and not just extraction. I think we have to invest in brownfield areas. How can we revitalize those? Um, what about our vacant downtowns? I mentioned Spencer earlier, how they've done a great job of revitalizing their downtown by bringing in small shops, businesses, offices, those types of things. How can we, because when you bring in small, it brings in jobs, it brings in more economy to the schools, or to the towns. And so how do we do that? And then protecting farmland and wetlands. And then we have to treat water and air as infrastructure. So investing in our water treatment plants, our wastewater treatment plants, and protecting our watersheds. We have to kind of create the attitude that pollution pays, and then innovators wins, and using tax credits and potential grants.
As a Republican, where do you draw the line between state authority and local decision making? Are there examples where you believe the legislature has gone too far in overriding towns like Gosport or Spencer?
I love this question. As a former mayor, I think it is vital to make sure that those local officials have authority over their communities. Um, the problems in Brazil are not the same problems that they saw that Carmel and Noblesville or even Indianapolis face. And I think we have to rely on our local officials and the people who are putting them into office to run that. And then you asked for some well, and the other thing I wanted to say is government has to be efficient, but when it's efficient, it has to be responsive. And right now, our problem in our state, they've got one side of that problem solved, but they do not have the other problem fixed. I feel that they're trying to be efficient in some cases. Um, the problem is they're not responsive. I had a situation this past summer where I was having issues with some teacher licensing, just getting it approved. We had submitted the documents. I'm a person that I pick up the phone and let's get this problem resolved. The problem was nobody else picked up the phone on the other end, and when I left a voicemail, I had to put in a ticket. And by the way, the ticket never did get responded. And I'm the type of person that I keep barking up the tree until I get an answer. I don't stop very well. I don't give up very well. End up calling the governor's office. I'm a little worried about what that voicemail was like, because I was frustrated because the chief of staff for Secretary Jenner called me. I also got a hold of Senator Bassler's office. And we finally, in the end, I got a hold. The director of teacher licensing got a hold of me in order to get the what I called the pipe unclogged to get the license taken care of. Um, we shouldn't have to do that. I'm not saying we need a call center. Um, I don't call the state very often, but I don't think I think we're working towards efficiency. I don't think we're working on being a responsive government. So I think that's what's key. I don't have any examples of Spencer or Gosport, but here are the examples that I know that have gone through the last few years where I think the state legislature has kind of overstepped their bounds. Union School Corporation in Northern Indiana was passed last year to close. I know they're in some legal battles right now. I'm not sure the gist of it. I know they have a large online presence. My question is, there are schools in Indianapolis that have a large. I know, because I was part of building that online school. Um, K-12, Indiana Connections Academy can exist, but this little school that's trying to exist and serve its community can't exist. The bill is dead now. but there was a Senate bill that was issued this year that was basically going to take the selecting the school board for South Bend out of the voters' hands and give it to Secretary Jenner's office. Indianapolis should not be picking school board members for local schools. I don't care if it's in South Bend, Evansville, or in Owen County. It doesn't matter. That's up to the voters, not up to the legislature or any government official sitting in Indianapolis. I'm a little torn on this one. This is one of those that I'm going to mention it. I'd like to hear more because I can see pros and cons both ways, but it has me concerned, and that's the and I don't really know that I should know this, but I don't know the current status of it. But there's a bill that would basically remove all county elected officials. That would then move that to the county executive. Cities kind of operate on this. When I was mayor, I selected my chief of police. I selected my street commissioner. I don't see it much different than cities, but it also has me a little concerned about, voters get to pick those people. So what does that look like? So it's one of those that it has me concerned. I'd like to hear a little more information and how are we going to make it better? Um, I'm a little concerned. This was not a legislator problem, but Congressman Hochin in the 9th district, I just saw a tweet that Governor Braun is going to announce in March that he's going to require or permit Turning Point USA to have a high school chapter in every high school in the state of Indiana. I have a little concern with this, which kind of goes to the next one, which is the 10th commandment. I was trained by Indiana University on school law and what's permissible and what's not permissible. I've had shirts wear Let's Go Brandon shirts. I've had kids wear Trump shirts, and those are freedom of speech shirts. As long as it's not doesn't have any vulgarity on there, students have a right to wear that. If they want to wear a pro Biden shirt or a Harris shirt, they have a right to wear those things. The problem I have is if these things are student initiated, by all means, let's have the students support it. But if we're going to allow Turning Point USA into our schools, then by George, whatever progressive young Democrats group that wants to start it, then we better be ready to open the doors. And as far as posting the 10 commandments, that's another overreach. The last time and I'm going to paraphrase this, but the last time that I read the Constitution and the First Amendment that the government shall not create or establish any laws pushing one religion over another. So my question is, how is the state legislature going to feel when there's a religion that knocks on my door as a principal and says, okay, you have the 10 commandments hanging up. Now I want my principles hung up. And how is my community going to feel about that? And how's the state legislature going to feel about that? To me, it's a one or nothing thing, or it's an all or nothing thing. So
How will you ensure constituents in smaller communities like Youngstown and Freedom have the same access to you and your decision making as larger towns in the district?
so this is I don't mean to sound this, but I don't know that accessibility is going to be a problem. Um, And I say that because I serve on my local church board in Corey, and we attend there weekly. Um, I'm a member of the Owen County YMCA, which I attend, and I think the big one is I'm principal at Owen Valley Middle School, which means that I'm out in the community. I'm attending community events, whether at the school, I'm at athletic events, and so I think what you'll see is that I will be out in the communities, and I will be approachable. I don't like bringing up politics because I know some people don't want to talk about politics, but if they open the door, I'm like a flood. We'll just, okay, let's go ahead and talk. So
If elected, how will you work across party lines to deliver results for 46?
we are Hoosiers first. We are not Democrats. We are not Republicans. We might side with one ideology over another, but bottom line is we are Hoosiers first. Um, when I go to Walmart or I go to the grocery store, Meyer, it doesn't, and I'm talking with somebody or somebody is struggling to pay groceries, we don't ask what their political party is, and it doesn't matter. Back in 2020, when the CARES Act was passed, I remember reading the CARES Act and reading the Republican version and saying, oh my gosh, there's some great stuff in here. There's some garbage too. And then I read the Democrat version and I was like, man, there's some great stuff in here. Oh, there's some garbage in here too. So I think that's what's going to be key is we have to take the good stuff from both parties because I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, and it's okay. Republicans don't have all of the right answers, and all the Democrats are not communist or socialist. There are some great people who side with the Democrat Party, and I think it's time that we come together I am quite frankly running because I am tired of our party extremes controlling everything. I think most people live somewhere in the middle. There's some pink people and there's some light blue people, but I think bottom line is we have to come together to listen. I think my job as a middle school principal is probably um, about the best example that I have of this. Um, we just went through listening, trying to come up with a plan for synchronous learning, and my all my staff is providing me feedback and listening, and my job is to take the good stuff from what they've said and the stuff that says, "I don't know if that'll work," and coming up with the best plan that we can to move forward. So, um, some of my friends are Democrats, and I have friends that are Republicans, and I'm not, if I'm elected, I'm not breaking friendships over party lines. It's not worth it, and it's time that we stand up for Hoosiers, not parties.
Hey, Tom, we've talked about your background, your priorities, and how you see District 46. Now we're going to shift the gears a bit. This is a segment we call Hold 'em or Fold 'em. I'll read a statement. You give me a hold or fold answer. No long explanations in this round. Think of it as a snapshot of where you stand when the clock is running and the cards are on the table. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Indiana school voucher program should only be used for what it was originally intended for, low income families.
Hold it.
Local communities should have more control over zoning and development decisions than the state legislature currently allows.
Gonna say folded on that one. I think there's some gray area.
Property taxes in Indiana are too high.
I'm gonna say hold it, because I wanna wait and see with the current legislation from last year.
A woman has the right to bodily autonomy.
Hold it,
Teachers in Indiana deserve a statewide minimum salary increase.
hold it.
The legislature has gone too far in preempting local government authority in recent years.
I'm gonna say fold it again. It's a gray area.
Rural broadband access should be treated as essential infrastructure like roads and bridges.
Hold it,
Healthcare should be a right.
hold it.
You would be willing to break with your party leadership if it benefited District 46.
Hold it.
Voters deserve more transparency from Indiana General Assembly than they're currently getting.
Hold it.
As we wrap up, I want to take a moment to thank Tom for joining me today. It's not always easy to step into a space where the questions are direct, the audience is engaged, and the expectation is accountability. I appreciate Tom for willing to show up, answer honestly, and take part in the conversation that crosses party lines. Disagreeing doesn't mean disrespect, and accountability doesn't mean hostility. What matters is the people running for office are willing to sit down, explain where they stand, and listen to the concerns of the communities they want to represent. From Ellettsville and Gosport to Spencer, Clay City, and everywhere in between. Whether you agree with Tom on every issue or not, participation matters. Democracy only works when candidates are willing to engage, voters are willing to pay attention. To everyone watching, I encourage you to listen critically, ask questions, and stay involved, not just during election season, but all year long. Because this show isn't about red or blue, it's about responsibility, transparency, and the people impacted by decisions made at the State House. Tom, I want to thank you again for your time. And to everyone else, stay informed, ask questions, and as always, hold them accountable.